Hey guys, welcome to Blockchain Reaction, where we introduce you to different types of blockchain technology, different companies that use blockchain, and how you can get involved.
Yeah, and if you like this idea, please like this video and subscribe to our channel to help support us.
Yeah. So Alice is basically, it says right when you see their website that Alice is a platform that brings transparency to social funding through blockchain technology. It's the first thing that they show you.
Yeah, and I guess if we scroll down a little bit on this page, I believe we can see the problems that they're trying to address. So in charities, a lot of times when you donate, you don't know exactly where your money's going, right? It's not transparent. And actually, growing up in church made me think of stories I heard about mission trips where companies would go and they would show up to paint a church, and it turns out like another church had showed up like a week before and painted the same
Oh, really?
the same building. So I was like, it's
No
total waste.
communication
And
at all.
yeah,
Yeah.
which I think is something that this could address in multiple ways. But one is, it's trying to address charities that are wasting money and probably not even intentionally, kind of like that. It's like people are going to do a good thing, but they don't realize there's a lack of communication. And then also there are charities that you can't trust. So lack of
Yeah.
trust between like how's your money actually being spent? Yeah,
Well, even there's charities that you can trust, but they have people in there who you can't trust, which kind of compromise the whole thing.
that's true.
Going back to when I was a kid, we're going to church, and it was a good church, really solid. But they had this one guy who was embezzling like $250,000.
Okay.
Nobody knew about it, and eventually, obviously, they figured it out. That's another prime example of where you have a good organization, but you have some shady people who mess up the whole thing. So if you have a complete transparent social funding platform like Alice, then that's going to make it a lot easier for people to actually see where their money's going.
Exactly. Um,
Which page are you looking at?
so the page that I was on before
Mm-hmm.
is the one that's kind of an introduction to Alice, I think, as a company. But they have another website, and this website, which I should probably drop the URL into the video, is where you can actually go and make donations or
Oh yeah,
set up an organization.
yeah,
So it's there at donations.alice.si.
yeah,
And it seems like they have one project, the pilot project, which has already helped 3 people
yeah,
by raising £13,000.
yeah. Which is good for those three people, but it doesn't make a huge impact.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends on how you measure impact. I don't really know much about
Yeah,
charity organizations, and so if this is a good outcome or not, personally, but
yeah,
they found housing, I guess, for 3 people.
yeah,
Um, and right
yeah.
now they're working on 2 or 3 other charities. So yeah, it seems like I don't even know if those are going.
Yeah, it was funny. You go down and you click on one of those charity organizations, and it says something like "coming soon" or something.
That's right. Yeah, I did click
Yeah.
on that, and I think it's what you said. Just
So I don't know if it's just that it's too early in the development process, but they haven't gotten far enough to actually have like a working system set up, or if they just are falling apart as a company.
I assume that they're just getting started
Yeah,
since
that'd
they've
be my
had
guess too.
yeah.
Because they just started in 2016, it takes obviously a lot of time to get something like this going.
Yeah. And then another thing they don't have is the investments yet.
Mm-hmm.
So I assume you can make investments in some of these charities outside of Alice. Their plan is eventually to have investments on the platform.
Yeah, yeah. Let's talk about that a little bit. So for a person who wants to get involved with Alice, what's the process like?
Well, they try to keep everything off of Ethereum as
Mm-hmm.
much as possible. I shouldn't say off of Ethereum. They try to make the process of making donations as user friendly as possible, so you don't have to like go and set up in a wallet through Ethereum and like download MetaMask and all that stuff. All
Yeah.
that gets generated for you if you make a donation on the platform. So it's really user friendly is one of their goals. And then here, so they've raised money. I think you just go here and you can donate to the project. and then you put in a credit card. So it's really simple to get involved that way.
So the way they have it set up is that first you would collect and hold the funds, and this is in the white pages too, I think. But you collect and hold the funds, and then the company has to deliver on the goals. And then once those goals are validated, then all the funds that they collected are actually released.
Yeah, I believe
And
that's
they
true for
can report to the
donations.
donors. What's that?
That's for the donations, yeah.
Yeah, for the donations.
And one thing that's cool about that, another thing that's cool about that is, so whenever you donate, well, as Walker just mentioned, so the company or the charity doesn't get the money automatically. They get it once they've accomplished something, and you get to see what that accomplishment was. So you actually know where your money went and to exactly what project it went to within the
Yeah,
charity, which I think is pretty cool. So it's not
yeah.
just like your money disappeared to that charity and like hopefully they used it wisely into something, but you don't know, you can't track it beyond the fact that it's gone to that charity. You mentioned that the money is released, but that's at the end of a project.
Mm-hmm.
But they also have steps along the way too that show their progress, right? And I
Yeah.
think they get money for each of these smaller steps as well, and then they complete a whole project, and then their donations I think get released to them. Is that right, or do they get some donations for each step?
Well, I know that they have to first start off with the what they call the impact investors, and that's where a lot of the upfront money comes from.
Right, and that's what they don't have set up yet. I don't
Yeah.
think. Yeah.
And I think they also get a little bit of money released as they hit those specific goals. So it says in step three, let me show you on screen. In step three, they have, you see yep.
Yeah.
So this is one of the PowerPoints that they had: collect and hold the funds, deliver goals, validate goals, release funds. So that validating the
Right.
goals, that might just be a series of steps that they have to accomplish. Um, with each of those steps, it could be a little bit of money that's released to them.
Yeah, and they're pretty strict on that actually. So if you try to skip one of these, they're time based, and if you don't do one, then you don't get the money released from that time, and also it's frozen in the future until you retroactively accomplish or give a statement for that goal. So basically, besides the goals, there's progress updates.
Yeah.
There's certain information that's private, like
Oh, yeah.
say that there's a charity helping children in foster homes find families or something. Of
Yeah.
course, they can't just put all the children's information on the blockchain and make it transparent to everybody. Like, oh, this is the child's name and where they went.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There is that, and the one other thing that I guess is kind of like the non-decentralized is the validators. Those are the
Right.
two that kind of stuck out to me. So, I mean, obviously for security purposes, you can't have people's name um, public to everybody to see. So I think that's a good thing, right?
Yeah, I think it's kind of a necessary thing.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way they're ever going to be able to put some of that on the blockchain and make it publicly available to everyone. But on
Yeah.
the other hand, I think one of the great benefits that I see coming whenever blockchain really takes off is that everything can be decentralized, so we don't have to worry about these middlemen companies,
Mm-hmm.
um, running things. But it's going to be impossible to eliminate that, I guess, with this kind of
Yeah.
system.
Do you think?
So the validators could be humans or computers.
Yeah.
And one was like, say your charity is trying to reduce air pollution.
Yeah.
Your validator could actually be sensors. And just like if their readings are reading less pollution, then you've achieved your goal,
Yeah.
which is kind of interesting because it might not necessarily be a direct impact from, from your organization, but maybe that's the goal you set. And if people, I mean, the fact that it's transparent is people can decide like, okay, that's good enough for me, and so they donate.
Yeah.
Um, so
One
that
thing I'm
that kind of
thinking
thing,
about
yeah.
is if you have human validators, would there be any way for them to be corrupt?
Yeah, I think anytime humans get involved, it's it's
Exactly.
going to be possible to corrupt
Yeah.
somewhere. Yeah.
So how? I mean, there's got to be some kind of way for them to monitor the validators, right?
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't know if you just have to trust Alice again. That's the problem with like having these middlemen.
Yeah.
So
That's one other thing I thought was interesting is they had a little graph where it showed how most charities measure success, and they had, or I should say, how they measure where the money is going. And they have like 7% for administration, 14 for fundraising, and then 19 is going to that one cause, another 32 is going to another cause, and so on and so forth. And so they're actually measuring where the money goes. But with Alice, they're tracking the impact, not the money.
yeah, I think it's a pretty great idea for sharing the data, especially. I really like that. That it's just so transparent that you're going to be able to go to one centralized place and find like what
Yeah.
other people have tried, where they failed, where they've had their successes, how recently it's happened. All that stuff seems great. That other like charities could interact with each other in that way,
Yeah.
and hopefully, if they're good-hearted, like if they're if they're really trying to help people, there won't be the kind of competition that businesses would have. I assume, like if you're McDonald's and Burger King and stuff, you don't want to probably put all your customer information on one centralized place. But with charities, that seems like a really great use for the blockchain. I don't know what about you?
Yeah. I'm kind of the same. I think I want to wait and see more. I want to see if it actually, if they're able to do it, if that makes sense. If
Yeah,
they're able to
like
get the site up and running, and then I'd like to be able to see what a report looks like. On a scale of 1 to 10, from functionality, how well it uses the blockchain, at least how well you think it uses the blockchain. Would you personally use it if you were donating to a charity, just the whole shebang? How would you scale it on the scale? At least on
so
a scale of 1 to 10.
it's kind of hard to say today. Probably fairly low. Let me give it like let me say today I would say maybe a 4 because if I was going to donate to a charity today, I don't know that I would pick one that's on there right now to donate to because I'm not really passionate about the ones that are on there at the moment. Um, but I really like what it's doing, so I kind of feel like I want to support them, and maybe in like a couple of years if they've developed a lot of what they said they would like to develop, I might raise that quite a bit. So I
Yeah,
guess maybe let me say like a 8 or 9 if they um,
a
had everything going,
potential 8 or
like if
9.
they're like all cylinders were firing or something. Yeah. Uh, what
So
about you?
4 now, and a potential 8 or 9 if they're able to get things up and running.
Yeah, that's what I would say.
I think that's fair. Yeah, I like that. All right. Well, make sure to like and subscribe and check back next week. Let you know.